I want to talk a little bit about the cause of the crisis because I think it has a major impact on how we make proposals for actions in the future to deal with the crisis. First of all, I think the crisis, at least up to now, the crisis was caused by the housing policies of the United States. Because of the affordable housing requirements that were placed on Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and the requirements of the Community Reinvestment Act that were placed on banks, we have 25 million subprime and Alt-A mortgages in this country. They are on the books of our banks, our other financial institutions, and on the books of banks and other financial institutions around the world. Now, that's almost half of all mortgages in the United States. Almost half of all mortgages in the United States are subprime or Alt-A, which means non-traditional, non-prime. And that amounts to something more than $4 trillion in principal amount of mortgages. This is quite extraordinary and unprecedented. In all previous bubbles we've had in the real estate market and the housing market, we've never had anything like this percentage of weak and failing mortgages. And in fact, these mortgages are defaulting at rates that are also unprecedented, sometimes 7 to 15 times the rates at which other mortgages, that is prime mortgages, are failing. Now, it was the defaults among these mortgages in 2007, began in 2007, when the housing bubble leveled off. You were no longer able to sell your house for more than you bought it for, that caused the asset-backed market to crash, came to a halt. This is another unprecedented fact. That meant that many institutions could not finance themselves when there was no asset-backed market. This caused Bear Stearns to fail. It caused Lehman Brothers and AIG to fail, and thus was ultimately the cause of the financial crisis and the problems we are facing today in our economic recession. Now, why does this affect my view of this particular report? Because if the crisis was caused by the government's housing policies, it was not caused by any inherent weakness in our financial or our regulatory system, let alone, as the left has been contending, an inherent weakness in capitalism. In effect, the crisis that began in 2007 and culminated in 2008 was, in my view, sui generis. Unless the government embarks on more foolish housing policies in the future, this crisis or crises like it will not, in my judgment, recur again. Under these circumstances, there is very little point in designing responses that assume that a crisis will occur again, especially if those responses will suppress economic growth, suppress innovation, increase costs, and create moral hazard. Although unstated, the report we are dealing with today assumes that a major crisis will occur again in the future. It's not only true of this report, but almost every analysis that one sees in the newspapers or in academic and other kinds of reports that are published regularly.